In today's review, a giant membrane covers the Earth and blocks out all the light from the stars in Robert Charles Wilson's Spin. Spin was published in 2005 and won the Hugo Award for Best Novel. Robert Charles Wilson followed it up with two sequels, Axis and then Vortex, but Spin can still be read as a standalone novel. So, what is Spin about? One night in October, when he was 10 years old, Tyler Dupree stood in his backyard and watched the stars go out. They all flared into brilliance at once, then disappeared, replaced by a flat, empty, black barrier. He and his friends, Jason and Diane Lawton, had seen what became known as the Big Blackout. It would shape their lives. The effect is worldwide. The sun is now a featureless disk, a heat source, rather than an astronomical object. The moon is gone, but the tides remain. Not only have the world's artificial satellites fallen out of orbit, their recovered remains are pitted and aged, as though they'd been in space far longer than their known lifespans. As Tyler, Jason, and Diane grow up, space probes reveal something bizarre. The barrier is artificial, generated by huge alien artifacts. Time is passing faster outside the barrier than inside. At this rate, the heat death of the sun is only about 40 years away. Jason, now a prominent scientist, devotes his life to working against this slow-moving apocalypse. Diane throws herself into religion, and Tyler becomes a medical doctor. And this becomes a story that spans 30 years from the lives of Tyler, Jason, and Diane as they age from children into adults, and the mysteries of the spin are unfolded throughout the novel. Okay, so let me kind of get into my overall review and thoughts for the novel, and then I'll do a little bit of a deeper dive into the science fiction concepts that are presented and explored in this story. Let me start off by saying that I did enjoy this novel. Spin is a science fiction story filled with big ideas and thought-provoking concepts, with a character-focused plot. Wilson's ideas often provoke a sense of wonderment and sense of awe at the vastness of the universe. And while we do have this sense of awe and these incredible, far-out science fiction concepts, the heart of this story is a character-focused, plot-driven novel that is driven by the unusual events of the novel. And the astonishing ideas in this novel often take a backseat to the rather mediocrity of everyday life and personal relationships, sometimes to the detriment of the novel, sometimes not. Despite this flaw, the novel manages to invoke a deep appreciation for science fiction and the unique concepts that can be explored within the genre. So the major event in this novel, of course, is when this mysterious membrane covers the Earth and blocks out all the stars. However, the sun still rises the next day, and life kind of seemingly goes on unchanged. And as more information trickles out about what's dubbed the spin, unease and fear kind of increases across the planet. Some people turn to war, others to religion, some to, of course, general bad behavior, that sort of thing, rioting and such, looting. And then others take the opportunity to turn to business and science, sometimes increasing their own power and influence. But in the case of Jason, he's very concerned with figuring out what the spin membrane is and what he can do to stop it or learn more about it and perhaps save humanity. So the novel follows the point of view character is Tyler Dupree, who is actually friend to Jason Lawton. Jason is this genius. He's in charge of this organization called Perihelion that gets started after the spin membrane. And Jason, like I said, he's kind of dedicated to responding and examining the spin membrane. And Jason has this powerful father named E.D. Lawton. So E.D.'s the one that started the Perihelion organization, which after all the satellites and everything were blocked out, he created this company that kind of sends up these aerostat balloons that kind of replace satellites and provide communication and a different form of GPS and all that. So this perihelion company becomes very, very powerful, very influential. And while ED, he's the father, he's kind of the businessman. He talks to politicians. He controls the direction of the company, and then his son Jason is, of course, he's a genius. So he does all the kind of science, and he does the planning and that sort of thing. But E.D. Lawton, his father, likes to keep Jason on kind of a tight leash. He's a very controlling person. Throughout the novel, he causes some conflict between Jason and Diane, and a little bit of with Tyler as well. And like I mentioned previously, this novel does start out with Jason, Tyler, and Diane are children, and ED kind of makes sure that Jason's on track to do great things in his life. And he, Tyler is kind of just there to help Jason along and provide some friendship with Jason. But this story really very much seems like this is Jason's story. But it's told from the perspective of Tyler. So at times this can kind of feel like Tyler's almost a side character to Jason. Jason's doing all these great things with the spin, but the way all the mysteries are revealed to us as the reader is through Jason explaining to Tyler kind of what's happening, what Jason's figured out, the strategies he's come up with to learn more, and really Tyler's just a secondary character to this novel, which I thought was a really interesting way to tell this story. And I actually recently got to talk with Robert Charles Wilson in a book talk. I'll be linking that below in the description. And I asked him about this, why he chose Tyler instead of Jason as his main character. I think if he had chose Jason, we would have got a more direct look at all the hard science of what's going on and kind of Jason's plans and strategies and everything that was going on. So what Robert Charles Wilson said in this book talk when I asked him, he chose Tyler as a main character and a main point of view because he wanted a more down-to-earth view of what was happening, and he thought he could have a broader view of everything that was going on the planet, on Earth. And if he were to have written from Jason's point of view, he thinks this would have been a very claustrophobic perspective, stuck inside Jason's head. It wouldn't be the broad, down-to-earth view that he was hoping to tell in this story. So that's kind of his rationale for this, which, makes sense to me. I think I still would have maybe preferred Jason's view over Tyler, but I can see where he was coming at from there. So Tyler ends up becoming a medical doctor and a personal physician to Jason. This gives him a very good opportunity to be kind of in the front lines of what Jason is doing. And Jason, Jason's often telling him what's going on. Tyler gets kind of mixed up in a lot of the big events that are happening because of his connection to Jason. And sometimes, especially during the first half of the novel, the story kind of gets bogged down in the normal everyday life details of Tyler's life. So it does feel a little slow sometimes. And there's this other wrinkle where Tyler has this infatuation with Diane Lawton, who's Jason's sister, Edie's daughter. Tyler has this kind of unrequited love situation going on with Diane. And, that it can create some interesting drama for the plot, but sometimes I feel like it was just kind of a little boring to read about. That's just me. But in the second half of the novel, things definitely pick up as more and more of the mysteries of the spin are revealed. Some really crazy things happen in this. Some very kind of far out science fiction ideas are explored. I'll go into that a little more later in my section about the science fiction concepts in this novel. But yeah, let's just say a lot of intriguing ideas are presented. and kind of discussed in this novel. Things like the great filter concept. We got von Neumann machines, and there's some stuff going on with Mars as well. So you can read some of this in like descriptions on the back of the book and Goodreads and things. But I think the less you know about the reveals and what happens in the novel, the more enjoyment you're going to get out of it. But this novel is really filled with some breathtaking ideas. It's a novel that examines the best of what the science fiction genre has to offer. Albeit with the downside of having the occasional mediocrity of having to read through Tyler's boring life. But despite that, I think this novel does reach a 4 out of 5 stars for me. So I think if we didn't have as much of the kind of the slog with Tyler's life, this would be a 5-star read for me. And most of that is purely coming off of the just the insane ideas and that are explored in this novel, and just the way the concepts are presented and kind of slowly revealed as we go. And so Robert Charles Wilson did mention that's kind of how the way he wanted to write it. We start off looking into the small reveals, and then as the story goes, the reveals get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I really like that that technique of writing this science fiction novel. So yeah, this story gets overall, it's a 4 out of 5 stars for me. It is a recommended read. I think it's a great science fiction story. I think if you want something that's very much character focused, I mean, we're really getting into Tyler's life, his personal relationships with Diane and Jason. So if you want that, but if you also want to kind of invoke that sense of wonder, and you are looking for something that explores, some really interesting science fiction concepts, kind of embedded within this character-focused story, I think you're really going to enjoy this one. There's lots of other things happening. As the novel goes on, there are these religious cults that come about. There's rioting in the streets, things like that going on. There's general unease. So yeah, definitely check this one out if you haven't already. It's sure to be a classic in the future. It's a Hugo Award winner. 4 out of 5 stars from me. And so let's take a look at some of the science fiction concepts explored in this novel. So listing all these concepts out, this novel has advanced alien technology with the spin barrier. It has von Neumann machines, which I won't get into that as it dives into spoiler territory. Just know that this is a concept that exists in the novel. We have the examination of the great filter theory, which is basically, why haven't we seen any other signs of alien life? Is there a filter where societies reach a certain point and then go extinct? Some people have wondered if humanity is going to hit the great filter themselves because we're using up all of our resources, we're destroying our planet and so forth. And is this something that every intelligent alien society goes through? We have some Mars terraforming going on, and this part of the novel is really interesting stuff. I don't want to spoil that, but yeah, it does some very interesting and unique stuff with Mars terraforming. We have advanced biotechnology and nanotechnology in this. There's some extended lifespan type stuff going on, and there's some mega structures involved. So those are the main concepts in here. Like I said, won't go into too much detail to avoid spoilers, but they're just some of the things you can expect to be explored in this novel. And if you're like me and you really like all the interesting ideas that science fiction has to offer, here's what you'll see in this novel, Spin. Alright, that's it. That's all I have to say for this novel. Let me know in the comments if you've read Spin and what did you think about it. Is this one of the best novels you've ever read? Did it deserve the Hugo Award? Would you give it a 5 out of 5 stars? Did you, like me, have a problem with Tyler kind of being the secondary character to Jason? So let me know your thoughts in the comments. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.